We have got a fantastic guest, someone we've spoken to once before, last year in a Fight Like a Girl show, which you can go and check out if you've never done that. But Lee, introduce our guest.
Yeah, we're speaking to Heidi Lovelace, and like Stu said, he's spoken to her once before. So if you're looking for things from before about, 18 months ago, something like that, go and have a listen to that after this, and then we've got everything that's been happening after that that's going to be covered here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, she's done an awful lot in the last year, wrestled an awful lot of places, done an awful lot of different things. I've written about her in the Good Half Year a couple of months ago, talking about how she's the most varied performer in the United States at the minute, and I still stick by that. And I'm looking forward to getting a chance to reacquaint myself with young Heidi and see what's going on in her life.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot to talk about, so hopefully we'll be able to rattle through it all.
Yes, but before we get to Heidi, let's have a quick just mention of the fact that you're probably listening to this on your iPod, your iPhone, whatever MP3 podcast user you use, or you could be listening to it on Stitcher. However you listen to the shows, don't forget that we do have our website as well, where you will get news pretty much every day on ringbellesonline.com. We've got a bunch of stuff that's been up in the last few days. Reviews of SummerSlam, also AAA's Triple Mania show, where Taya Valkyrie became the Reina de Reinas.
Yeah, we've got a review of the alternative wrestling show, Fourth Women's Tournament, that took place in May. We've got news about wrestlers going to Japan, wrestlers going to Britain, wrestlers considering suing WWE. You want to check it out.
Yeah, also Courtney Rush winning the NCW Femme Fatale International Championship this past weekend at Femme Fatale 15.
So, plenty of stuff going on. And then anything that we haven't mentioned in a singular post, all that is mentioned in the Roundup newsletter, which comes out every Tuesday.
Absolutely. So, look, you don't want to hear us talking. You want to hear about Heidi Lovelace. So we're going to go straight to our guest. Join us after this little bit of music. We'll be welcoming back Heidi. This is the second time I've had a chance to talk to this young lady. She's one of the busiest wrestlers in North America at the minute, as far as we can see, and she's certainly one of the most varied and talented. It's great to be able to welcome to the main Women of Wrestling podcast, Heidi Lovelace. Heidi.
Hello.
Oh, that was such a nice little hello. But it's good to speak to you again. It was April last year that I did a Fight Like a Girl podcast with you, and we got to chat to you about getting started in wrestling and how your wrestling career was going at that point, and you were really enthusiastic at the time. I remember asking you specifically about, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how excited were you about your wrestling life in the early months of 2013? You said probably about a 15. So, given that it's now mid-2014, how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 about how excited you are about wrestling now?
Oh, I probably couldn't even begin to describe it. I am just... Sorry, I live next to train tracks. That's the first thing you guys can learn about me. I apologize.
So do I. We'll live with it.
I am probably... I'm off the charts at this point. I have gotten to do so much in such a short period of time, and I've been blessed with so many opportunities that the future can only be bright for me. I'm just so blessed. I'm so excited. So probably like 25, 30, 100, whatever you want to say. I'm so excited about wrestling and everything I've been doing.
We're going to have to invent the Lovelace scale.
Yeah, right.
Like the Muta scale, only with happiness.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. At the minute, I'm like a 0.75 Heidi. So, stuff like that. But, I can understand why you are. I mean, like, when I did the introduction, I said that you were one of the most sort of, sought after and seems like busy wrestlers in North America at the minute. You are all over the place. You're wrestling all over the shop, and we'll talk about a lot of the stuff that you've been doing in the last year and stuff you've got coming up over the course of the podcast. But first thing I want to talk about is last Friday night at AAW.
Yes.
Again, you had a match with Matt Cage for the Heritage Title. It was a rematch of a match from June, which at the time you tweeted and said that you will never forget that match for the rest of your life. How was Friday?
Oh, Friday was such a combination of so many emotions. Friday was definitely probably so far the highlight of what has been my career. It was just, there were so many, like, it's hard to explain. It was such a high intensity match, and it was such, Matt Cage is probably one of the top guys in the indies, in my opinion. He's actually probably one of the most underrated guys, in my opinion. There was a reason he was the Heritage Champion for as long as he was. So, to say the least, it was a challenge to step in the ring with him and go. But once everything happened, for those of you who don't know, I beat Matt Cage and was crowned the first ever female Heritage Champion for AAW. And so as soon as I won, the overwhelming emotion, like, if you buy the DVD, which you should, and then along with myself, there's fantastic wrestling on that DVD, so buy it. But
Yes,
if you buy it, you can see I'm actually crying in the corner. As soon as I win, I'm actually just physically weeping because there was so much. The whole crowd was on their feet. Some of the other guys came from the back and picked me up onto their shoulders. And it was such a great moment for me. And I think for women as a whole, you know what I mean? Like, a championship that has only been held by men for the last, 10 years or however long AAW's been running. They've been running for a long time. But for the last, years, all of it's been won by men. And with the women that have, like, competed for that title, and the fact that it was me that ended up winning it was just such an amazing feeling that I just couldn't contain myself, and I just started crying like a baby.
So a great moment, but also a weepy moment as well.
Very much so, yeah.
Did you? Was it always the plan that this would be what you would do? You would get this belt, or was this a last minute thing that you only find out on the day?
I didn't know anything about it, actually. I was unaware of anything like that. Like, it was a very last minute, like, bam, here you go. You know what I mean? So
it's always interesting to sort of hear things like that, because Mia Yim was saying the same thing on one of the podcasts we did recently with her, where she and Leva won the Shine Tag titles, and they were told in the day that they were winning it, and they didn't really believe it until it happened, type thing. Mm-hmm. Is that the same kind of experience you had?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was very overwhelmed at that point.
Is it better that you kind of know as a sort of shock on the day thing rather than having it in the weeks in advance, for example? Because I guess when the emotion comes from after the match, does it feel more natural, I suppose?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I would say, because I think with myself, I would probably have psyched myself out more than anything. Like, it would be a constant, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I would be, like, I thought about it, and I thought, whatever. I thought it was a possibility, but, like, when it was actually like told to me, I was overwhelmed. I would just walked up to one of my fellow trainees, who wrestles, some of the dark matches at AAW, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Oh my God. And he was like, I'm so excited for you. I'm like, you're not helping my level of anxiety right now. You're not helping. So
there's a lot of pressure on you going forward.
It was definitely more natural reaction as soon as it happened. Like, the tears were definitely were real. You know what I mean? It was such a great feeling. And then to have known that, it came from such a great match. You know what I mean? I felt so good about the match because I felt good about my opponent, who was just so good at what he does and everything. It was just, I felt great.
Does it put a lot of pressure on you going forward now as a champion in AAW? I remember you saying that AAW was the promotion you kind of thought of as your home promotion.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely it's been so far since I looking back on my career at AAW. AAW is definitely the place that gave me a shot. You know what I mean? I've been a lot of places that have tried to make me something else, but AAW was the company that, looked at me and said, okay, we're going to let you be who you are. And here's the ball. Now run. And that's one of my, like I said, it is my home. It is the place that, probably, means the most to me. But now that I am the Heritage Champion, it does put a lot of pressure because, like I said, Cage held it for so long, and he really set the bar. Like every match he was constantly having, these 5-star matches and doing so well and basically doing what was expected of him as the champion. And now that's the case with me, it's going to be one of those things where it's okay, I know obviously there's going to be a lot of mix. I'm going to be wrestling guys. I'm going to be wrestling girls, whoever, comes after it, whatever. But, now I have that expectation. Okay, well, now you're at a completely different level. You're not just some random girl that we brought in and just put up against some chicks. Now, you are on the level of men. You've beaten a man for this title. You know what I mean? So it's definitely very, very nerve-wracking to see if I can, hold the bar.
It was quite interesting there. You talked about how AAW was the place that sort of, that was the place where you said that they kind of let you be yourself, and other places have tried to, cast you in different roles. And certainly we'll talk a lot about the variety of the stuff that you do around the US during the course of the show. But, I mean, would you then say that if anybody wants to get the straight 100% proof Heidi Lovelace, AAW is where you need to go?
Yes, I would definitely say that. I would probably say that that Shimmer would be another place to see that same person, just because I believe that my original shot at Shimmer came from AAW, because a lot of the people who run Shimmer are at the AAW shows because it's right out of the same building.
Sure.
So I believe my shot came from that. So it kind of carries over into Shimmer, but most definitely, I would say if you want to see 100% pure Heidi Lovelace, the girl who gets her butt kicked, screams a lot, and kicks people real hard, then go to an AAW show.
Sweet. When we last talked, we talked a little bit about your training, and we talked a little bit about the fact that you'd gone to OVW and you were training there and starting to appear on their shows. But soon after we talked to you last time, you got involved in a big angle in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that. And that's the big storyline you had last summer with Taeler Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is taking a completely different tact from the AAW, sort of really intense match sort of stuff, to a storyline, a weekly television storyline, where it was all about emotions and all about trying to get people to care. I mean, compare and contrast those. I mean, again, talking about how varied you are as a performer, you got to do this completely different style of wrestling.
Oh yeah. When I first, I was actually the storyline itself. I was, it's a funny story because I at the time was not contracted, obviously, with TNA. I have yet to have that. So I basically had to fight for my spot on the weekly OVW because obviously they have to use the TNA contracted people, but they didn't have to use, the other people that were coming there regularly. So basically I had to sit down and come up with something that I felt like I could incorporate somebody who had a TNA contract. i.e. Taeler Hendrix, and see what I could do with that. And so basically, in my head, I wanted to do something that was similar to the Trish Stratus, Mickie James, but with a lot more emotion based, as far as she didn't want to be her like Mickie did with Trish. She wanted to be with her. So I came up to Al and was like, here's what I want to do. And we were actually sitting at a Hooters when I asked him about it.
How fitting.
Best place for it, yeah.
Yeah. That was the place that you went to pitch ideas. And you had to be ready. You had to be ready. At all times, you had to be ready. As soon as he had questions, you had to be ready with an answer. No matter where the storyline was going, you had to be ready. Mm-hmm. And with every question he had, I was ready with an answer. So it was one of those things where he was like, okay, we're going to do it next week. And I was so excited.
So this all came from your brain then? This wasn't somebody else who wrote this angle for you and said that?
In my tiny little head, yeah.
Wow, that's an impressive sort of feat to look at the situation and go, you know what, this is what I need to do. I'm going to change something about it, rather than sit and complain that they don't use you.
Yeah, I mean that's basically, you can't sit back and complain that you're not being used when you're not, constantly coming up, to the person who's running everything and going, all right, this is what I have for you. This is how you can use me. This is how you can use me. This is how you can use me. And as soon as my title run ended with Taryn Terrell, when she came around and had it, and then it was given back, I believe, to Taeler shortly thereafter when Taryn went back, I immediately had to just sit there and brainstorm. And I had a few different ideas, but this one was the one that I was like, okay, this is going to get some controversy. This is going to get a lot of talk. This is going to get the attention of a lot of different kinds of people. And it's going to be positive and it's going to be negative. And it was. When we first started teasing the Taeler got the gifts from everybody and everything. And then finally it was divulged that it was me that was giving these gifts. People didn't really know where that was going to go until the following week after that, when I came out and I just started babbling, basically. And this was, at this point in time, I was already happy with how the storyline was going because the women were actually getting mic time. Mm-hmm. And that was very rare for that to happen. In OVW, the only person that was ever really getting mic time at the time was the person who was running OVW, which was Josette Bynum. So us having this chunk of time to fill and this story to get over was a really cool feeling. And we definitely were trying to live up to what they wanted so that we could continue to get more and more time, if that makes sense.
I remember seeing the angle. I think it really sort of caught on with me after you kind of made the admission that you were the one who was sending all of these gifts, which was a very big surprise. And I remember commenting on it as it still sort of kicked into that next gear, and it seemed really interesting. And you mentioned about the fact that it was kind of like the Trish and Mickie James storyline, but it wasn't, in the sense that it seemed to be more tender, I guess is probably the term that I'd use, rather than it being more obsessive. And it made for really, really interesting stuff to watch. I mean, I know that I threw it onto a newsletter, and I think a few more people kind of took a look at it. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those things that I didn't think you could stop watching because it didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go.
Yeah, no, that was the thing that we were really proud about how it came out. It was a lot. It was even more than I had anticipated when we came up with it, and when we ironed out all the details and everything. It was more talked about than almost any other storyline since I had been at OVW like, and especially involving the women, had been talked about. It was such a good, like, Taeler, did so great at what she was doing, and basically putting over the fact, she had known about my feelings shortly thereafter. She knew about my feelings, and then that she knew about them, but then was using me and manipulating me to do the things that she wanted based off of my feelings. And I think it was very relatable at that point in time. Everybody at some point in time, that was watching probably could relate to the fact that they had been used and manipulated and had their feelings used against them for other people to get what they want. So my main focus was to just kind of get people to relate to what we were trying to portray.
So was the plan then? Was the plan to always integrate the women's champion at the time, who was Trina Thompson, and also Nikki St. John, and bring them in and try to incorporate more women into this storyline?
Initially, not really. Once we started it up, we kind of like, I had pitched it to Al, it was very much like, these are the different ways that we could go about it. And one of them had to do with, the Mean Girls type situation, which was, Nikki St. John and Taeler Hendrix. They were, very good at portraying the Mean Girl saga, the you can't sit with us type thing. You know what I mean? They were very good at playing that role. And, so once, they really showed their strengths, and that's when, the storyline went that way. But because, we still had to stay away from the actual word. Like, obviously I had feelings for Taeler. It wasn't that I wanted to be with her or to be like in her group or in her clique. Like, no, I really genuinely cared about her, and like in a romantic sense. And it was so taboo at the time because we had to stay away from the word lesbian, or we had to stay away from the word love, or we had to stay away from a lot of different things because there was so much controversy. Like, I actually got some hate mail because of it. Yeah, because we did it basically, and for lack of a better term, in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
In Kentucky. So it was very, very taboo. I'm obviously, because I did the storyline, I'm very open to, all rights for everyone. But I got so much hate mail as to, like, do you understand, like, what you are and this and that, just awful things that I will not repeat. But it just really showed me, like, how much of an impact, that just, a simple storyline can have, like, that I can get to these people that much. And it hurt me a little bit to see that, any kind of something different, you know what I mean, can scare people so much. You know what I mean?
It must have been weird, though, to be essentially your character is the wronged party, and you're the one who's getting the negative mail about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the weird part. Is like, I was the one who was gathering sympathy from a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, that was the goal, is to, like, people, felt bad for what I was going through. But then there was also that part that of the people that didn't feel bad for me because of the gender role that I was playing. You know what I mean? Like, because of the fact that, we were on the verge of lesbian, which to this day, lesbian, that's a great term. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I can totally see why, people in the Bible Belt especially would be particularly, I guess, offended by it, but it's still bizarre to think in this day and age.
Yeah, it's 2014, so it makes me very mad that it can really go that route.
What did people in charge of OVW think when you were going through this angle, and obviously this was your baby, your angle, and then I guess, like, they were probably getting hate mail as well, rather than just you yourself. I mean, was there ever a point then where I don't know who we're going to be talking about here, but whoever was in charge, whether it be Al or whoever, did they ever sort of say, right, we've got to dial this back because this is offending people?
We at one point in time or another, they loved at the very beginning, like the first scene we shot, the first promo that we shot with both of us, and basically like me telling Taylor, like, Dylan doesn't care about you, Ryan doesn't care about you, I'm the one who cares about you. They loved every second of that, and they loved the direction that it was going. We shot a promo not too long after that. That was basically that was Dylan Bostic coming in, and he was Taylor's boyfriend at the time. He came in and basically was inviting both of us, oh, well, there's, Heidi Lovelace, and I believe the exact words he used were, if you wanted to call a stripper, all you had to do was ask, and said something along those lines. Of his catchphrase is, who sucks now? And so he said that to us, which could have had a lot more innuendos than what I think he realized at the time. And so with that whole thing being said, we were tiptoeing on some lines at that point, with Dylan introducing the fact that it can be the three of us and this, that, and the other. So we were really on, like, tiptoeing. We were just right on that line. And that was one of the points in time where they were like, all right, we need to dial this back a little bit. Because we were actually, the network that we were airing in Kentucky was actually a Christian network. So that's was one of those problems. Things. Yeah, that was definitely causing a lot of problems. Hence why I think a lot of the hate mail was coming, because a lot of these people were watching from a Christian network, you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of negative feedback and stuff. But that was really one of the only points in time where they were like, all right. Because like I said, we were not allowed to say the word lesbian. We were not allowed to, like, make it aware and, like, really concrete say that I was in love with Taylor. But we just, the undertones for a really long time. And I think we were okay with that until we introduced Dylan, and it just got a little out of control there for a second.
One thing OVW does, as far as I can see, it's one of the very few places in America that will give a performer the chance to do weekly TV and do a lot of backstage skits, do a lot of in-ring interview segments, as well as do wrestling as well. As far as you were concerned as a performer yourself, this must have been a great opportunity for you just to learn working TV and all that sort of stuff. This must have been a good opportunity for you as a young wrestler. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, absolutely. That was
because, you could have some of the best sort of indie wrestlers, but they have no idea how to work TV, how to do backstage skits, how to cut a promo. But you got to learn all that while you're there, I guess, or get a chance to do it.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things I loved so much about OVW. While I no longer work there, I'm very thankful to them for everything that they gave me. I was very unaware as to how TV worked and what was expected of women, especially the gender role in on the indies and on TV is so drastically different. It's crazy because we are constantly told while we're on TV, we are similar to, and this sounds bad, but we're similar to midgets. We are a commodity. Yeah, we are a commodity. As a woman, like, they can see men wrestling all day long, but if you see a woman wrestling like a man, you're seeing the same thing. So to them, you wrestle like a woman would, you know what I mean? And so it was a very different time, like a very different way I had to learn to work around the fact that I was trained like a man. You know what I mean? I've explained before, in my past interview that, Billy didn't treat me any different than the boys. So coming into that and working, okay, I have to work a little bit more like a woman. I have to look a little bit more like a woman. It's when I got my extensions, like my longer hair, everything like that. I was wearing, dresses and skirts and this, that, and the other, like stuff you wouldn't catch me dead in now. But, and then like working the TV aspect, constantly finding hard cam and you know what I mean? Like that was definitely something that I was not even prepared for when I first got there. But now that I've had that under my belt and like I have the segments and the promos and everything like that, I now know if I'm ever put back in that position, hopefully, fingers crossed, one day, if I'm ever put back in that position, it's something that I'm ready for.
How do you feel about the fact that there is this different portrayal of women when it comes to TV?
I think that it's changing, but it's changing slowly. I think for a while there, with, some of the women, it was just very, a lot of like cat fights, hair pulling, all that stuff. Like that was the constant. I think now that they've got a lot of the women down there now, at least, in the E, they've got Paige and they've got, AJ and they've got, Sarah doing the training. I think that right now it's slowly changing. Like they've got some of the women stuff, they've got the thing that makes it different than the men, but these girls can go, you know what I mean? So I think people are catching on to that now. The women's match on TV is no longer the popcorn match. You know what I mean? Like is no longer the, okay, well the women's match is on, I'm going to go. You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, what are these girls going to do this week? You know what I mean? Like it's a sought after thing. So I think it's changing and I think it's changing for the better. So I'm excited to see where it goes. And these girls are getting like some of the girls that even when I'm watching on NXT, like some of the girls that I would have never expected to be able to have matches that they have are killing it right now. And I do believe it is thanks to, Del Rey being down there and sharing her wisdom.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, I mean, what happened with OVW then? Because obviously you said you don't work there anymore, but the whole thing with Taeler seemed to basically get wrapped up really, really quickly in one tag match at a Six Flags show. And then, I mean, I don't know if you were back after that, but it seemed like you were pretty much gone immediately thereafter.
Yeah, it was really weird. I feel like it was going a lot of places, and then we got to a show, and it was supposed to be our Saturday night special. That was coming up that following Saturday. And we're at the taping and they're basically telling us, this is wrapping up this tag match. It's, story's done. And Taeler and I both kind of looked at each other and were like, I feel like there's a lot more that we can do with this, but I think they wanted to start up a separate women's storyline and they wanted to kind of give the spotlight to that one. I think at the time, the storyline that they were trying to do was Epiphany and Eddie Diamond, and put a lot of focus on Lady Tappa because she had, I believe she had just gotten there not that long afterwards. So I think they were trying to put more focus on that. So when we did the tag match, the big, blow off, the big finish is I kissed Taeler, and then, real quick roll up, whatever, 1, 2, 3, and then, and then I was done with her. So it was one of those things where, after that, any, interaction that Taeler and I had, we still tried, whether we were told to or not, we still tried to convey those feelings that we had for each other of whether or not it was, like betrayal or dismay or whatever. Like we were still trying to portray those feelings, even though we were not told to in benefit to the storyline. So once that ended, I was doing quite a few independent bookings. Obviously I was still trying to stay busy, and it was hard for me to be able to continue to do the OVW house shows, which was a requirement when you're at OVW. So when I was the following month, we were doing the Saturday night special, and it was just one of those things where I knew that my lease was up in Kentucky, in a few months, And I also knew that I had kind of gotten, and it sounds bad, but I've kind of gotten everything that I was going to get from AEW. Like everything I was going to gain, I had gotten from it. So it was one of those things where, I thanked, Danny, and I thanked him and for everything that he'd done for me. But, I had a title match with Trina Thompson at the time, and I was losing, and I had no other attachment to any other storyline. So I was like, this is, going to be my time to, to get going. And, he thanked me and was like, you've got, a real bright future ahead of you and everything like that. And and shortly after that, TNA was no longer with Ohio Valley. So they pulled out of the developmental. And so now now OVW is just, a developmental. It's no longer attached to any, bigger named contracted company.
It's funny. I mean, you talked about how that whole thing with Taeler was your idea originally, and once you left, I know you said they had something coming up with Epiphany and a little bit with Lady Tappa and stuff, but the women in OVW, that division went significantly downhill, and there's not really a lot going on there at the minute for the women. I mean,
no.
Have you had a chance to see much of it at all, or have you been keep up with the stories?
I've watched it a little bit here and there, just strictly for curiosity.
Sure.
And I feel like it's hard for them right now because there's a lot of newer girls that are in there, that are just kind of trying to, like girls that have never wrestled before, like didn't come off the indies or anything, just came to OVW and are OVW bred. And I had the benefit of working with, Josette Bynum, and I got to work with Taeler, and I got to work with a lot of, girls that had been working significantly longer than I had. So I was learning from them constantly, you know what I mean? And I don't think that they don't get the benefit as much as I did because they don't have as many girls that have, been there for as long as like Josie had and everything like that. Like she was, God, if I didn't have Josette Bynum, I think I would have lost my mind. She was definitely, our wrestling mom. Like she was the, head of our women's locker room. And she was the thing that kind of, the glue that kind of held it together. And I don't think that they have that, that one person to just be like, watch my stuff. What am I doing wrong? Help me here. I don't think they have that. And I think that's the only thing that they're missing.
Just as an example of what OVW is doing now as far as women's matches are concerned, they're doing dark matches at the moment, but there hasn't been a match on OVW TV since May.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I was very unaware of that.
Yeah, they've been doing dark matches with Mary Elizabeth Monroe and Rebel to get her ready for TNA. But yeah, it's there's pretty much nothing going on at the moment.
Wow, that's nuts. Since May? Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to just take the reins. You know what I mean? I got a chance to go to, it was a get together of some of the OVW crew right before I moved. One of the gentlemen was going back to Canada, and it was like a going away party, and I didn't have to work or anything. So I was still in Louisville, Kentucky at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll come out. And like, I met a lot of the girls. It was so funny because I'd met some of the the girls that were just, breaking in, and like 3 or 4 of them came up to me and was like, so a couple people keep telling me that your stuff. Well, how can I get good? And I was like,
wow, that's an open-ended question.
It was a weird question. How can I get good? Practice. Yeah. Don't sleep with any of the guys in the locker room. All those things. Don't do that.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was. I can tell that some of the girls are struggling down there, and I wish nothing but the best for them. And I think like I said, they just need that guidance, and they don't necessarily have that. And I hope and pray it happens for them. If not, hopefully they'll find it on the indies or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I think it's a great resource to be able to learn how to work TV and stuff like that. I think it's a fantastic thing if women can go and do their stuff there. So yeah, hopefully that will come back. Let's move on now to another place that you've been working, and you mentioned it earlier as being another place where you can see the pure Heidi Lovelace, and that's Shimmer. You worked the whole weekend of Shimmer tapings this past April, which was good. I mean, just from a fan's point of view, because it seemed like it allowed you to get a little bit more involved in storylines and stuff like that, because you'd done a few tapings before, but it seemed to be a case where you were booked elsewhere on one of the 2 days, so you were only ever in for like 1 day. You do a couple of matches and that was it. But for a weekend, you got a chance to actually get involved in some stories, and some of the stuff from Saturday carried on into Sunday and stuff like that. And you really felt like you were, starting to become a bit of a big deal there as well. How did you enjoy getting involved in the meat and potatoes of Shimmer?
I can't, like, on the Heidi Lovelace scale. It was incredible. Just it being in that locker room alone, like the last 2 times that I've been there, I wasn't necessarily booked. I was just there, and I was doing Sparkle a few times, and it was one of those things where, I was just in the right place at the right time, and I was, in this match or in this match, and it was, like I said, it was, more accidental than anything. But with this particular time, I felt like I belonged because they wanted me there. I was a part of their roster. Like I had a set thing that I was doing every single day, and it felt so good to be, in that locker room. I'm on the same level as so many talented women. And originally when I walked in the door, and, I've got that, like, it's Shimmer weekend. This is awesome. I had just come off of a really fun match with the Killer Death Machines, which is Nevaeh and Jessica Havoc, against myself and Athena from AAW the night before, because they do the AAW Shimmer weekend. So we had just done that night before. It was real fun. I enjoyed it. And then as soon as I walked in the door, I was like, hey, what am I doing today? Oh, you're wrestling Madison Eagles. Huh.
Yeah.
My heart, like, was in my throat a little bit. Like, I was just, like, my eyes got real big, and I was like, oh, okay. I've looked up to her.
It'll be
for a
fine.
very long time, watched a lot of her work, and, when she was, Shimmer Women's Champion and everything, like, I was really, really nervous. And, it was such a great feeling to be able to, she's like, like, to be able to be in the ring with somebody like her. It was a very awful thing that happened. She ended up breaking her wrist in that match, which was such a terrible, like, it was all, like, accidental, like, it was, misplacement of, whatever. But, like, I, like, anytime somebody gets hurt in one of my matches, I'm automatically just, like, devastated. Like, I want us all to, be successful, make money, and do all this stuff. But, I don't want anybody to get hurt. But, following that, I got to wrestle, another up and comer. So it was such a dramatic change. Because I was wrestling, Madison Eagles, and my first time there, and, who's such a, like, a hierarchy of the Shimmer locker room. And then, I got to wrestle somebody named Angie Sky, who is more or less, like, I think she's been in the business for about, I want to say, like, close to 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever. And, like, I'm not saying back down, but somebody who's closer to, like, the same level that I'm on. We're both, chomping at the bit to try and get, onto the main roster and kind of, make a name for ourselves. So, like, somebody who already has a name to somebody who's trying to make a name, like, was such a transition to go from match to match. But I enjoyed both of them, thoroughly. I think Andrew Sky's, very good. And then I had my program with Portia and Havoc to me is one of the best women's talents that's out there. And she being in the ring with her and having a singles match with her was actually one on my bucket list. Like, it was something that I'd always wanted. And having a match with her was awesome. Yeah, it was just absolutely awesome.
I mean, it's one of those ones that plays to both of your strengths. I mean, she's the big sort of, Havoc death machine, and you're the punk rock ragdoll who's getting thrown around the place. It's one that's just, you can see why that would work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, it was definitely one of those things where, like, everybody wanted to see it at some point in time or another. Anybody that knew me was like, I need to see you against Havoc. I need to see her throw you around and need to see you kick her really hard. So it was one of those things that when it actually happened, a lot of people were really excited. I'm looking forward to seeing the DVD. And I know a lot of people I know are really excited to see it.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, when we were starting talking about Shimmer there, on other weekends you've worked one day and maybe you've been booked elsewhere another day, and just when you were talking about the Havoc match there and getting your ass kicked, it reminded me of last October. You were booked on the first day of Shimmer, but the second day you worked Wrestling His Heart against Kingston. Mm-hmm. And holy shit, you took an ass kicking in that match.
Yeah, you did.
We put that up on the site, about a month or so ago when it came up on the Chikara YouTube, and holy shit, woman!
Yeah, he beat my ass.
Yeah,
he beat my ass,
and then you won.
And then I won.
Yeah,
no, that was a fantastic feeling. Like, it was second to winning the AAW Heritage Title. It was such a great feeling because he kicked my ass the whole time. Eddie, to me, is quite possibly one of the best all-around wrestlers in the world. And people may disagree, but to me, he's got everything. He can talk. He can sell. He can do everything. He's just amazing at everything. And it's one of those things where being able to be in the ring with him was it was overwhelming. It was just, I was petrified, absolutely terrified. It was just, oh my God. But he beat my ass.
But the thing is about that win as well is that it happened during kind of Chikara's lull period, but he was still the grand champion. So for you to get a win over Chikara's grand champion is a really big deal.
Yeah, it was. It was funny though, because this last time that I was at Chikara in Chicago, I wrestled Ophidian, and the crowd, like, as soon as I entered the ring, the crowd started chanting, "You beat Kingston," and I just stopped. And, like, for some reason, even though I knew that I had, and, like, that everybody knew about it and everything, I wanted to shh, no, stop, don't say that, because he's gonna come back out here and beat my ass again. Like, shh. Like, I was trying to shush them because I didn't want them to say it, even though I knew everybody knew about it. But it was one of those things that was the first thing that they associated me with as soon as they saw me again in Chikara. "You beat Kingston." I was like, oh, stop. Like, I was so nervous.
I mean, talking about Chikara, you match at the 2014 National Pro Wrestling Day with Joe Pittman. That was kind of the match that brought back Chikara as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Where was that?
It was after the Chikara special. I put it on Joe, and it all just havoc ensued. Like, it was just everywhere. Everything was happening all around me. I had gotten choke slammed basically through the apron, like through the ring completely. It was one of the I don't know. You can see the very end of it on the actual DVD. You can see the very end of it, and it's like my whole body about 5, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet in the air, and then just annihilated. And then I'm rolling under the ring, just trying to catch my breath. at this point. And just around me is just everyone's fighting, everybody's yelling and screaming, and then there's a DeLorean. And I'm what's happening right now? Like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, once I saw the DeLorean, I just knew I knew nothing was ever going to be the same.
Wow. I take it that working further with Chikara is in your future.
I'm hoping so. Chikara is such a, and whenever I talk about this with, any of my peers or any of my, coworkers or whatever, like, it's such a back and forth. You either love Chikara or you hate it. And I love everything that is Chikara. I love everything that it is about. I love everything that it represents, because it's so different. And like, for me to become, a regular on the roster, that's definitely one of my main goals as of right now, because it's just, everything about it is just so well done. And like, the talent there is just incredible, and all the characters and everything is just so good. And the emotions that can be provoked. And they're like, I've tweeted this at least 3 or 4 times. There is no crowd in the world like a Chikara crowd. And I realized that after Tag World Grand Prix with Eric Cannon and Darren Corbin, with myself and Saturnine, just them being so into everything was just.
Well, can I talk about that match? You did slow motion wrestling in that match, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I keep talking about, when I'm writing about you on Ringbelles, I tend to talk about how varied you are and all the sort of stuff you do, but I don't often mention slow motion wrestling is another thing you can do.
Yeah, I can do slow-mo. I can do slow-mo.
How was that? I mean, like, because obviously
it was so fun. It was so fun.
Darren Corbin does quite a lot, but I mean, yeah, it was weird. It was fun.
It was so fun, and the fact that the crowd was in slow motion too, along with the commentators, and everything around us, everyone around us just being just in that moment, like involving so many people in one specific thing is just, it's so it makes you feel so powerful as a performer that you can involve, hundreds and hundreds of people in this specific thing. And we're all in slow motion, like chanting, "This is awesome." And it was great. And we ended it with the one thing that Eric Cannon loves to do in every single one of our matches, which is the kiss.
Wow. Hey, that's a good segue back to intergender wrestling, I suppose. Obviously we talked about Eddie Kingston there, but you've made quite a name of doing quite a lot of very well received intergender matches. I know AEW at the J-Lit this year, everybody was talking about that. You had matches with Ricochet and Page and Michael Elgin, and obviously you were back for the Battle of the Sexes show at AEW as well. I mean, intergender wrestling, it's always a bit of a hot button subject for some people. Some people really like it, some people just can't get into it, some people don't find it believable. I mean, how do you feel as someone who performs these matches? What's your philosophy of working these kind of matches?
I feel like, because like you said, it is it's a hot topic. There are certain people that cannot get behind, intergender matches and things like that. And to me, there is a way. Like, there is a way. I will never be able to say that I feel like I can go toe to toe with somebody, with another man, especially somebody like that's big as like Elgin, or that's big as Ricky, or even BJ. Like, it's having those matches, and being, as small as I am, but to me, there is always a way to do it. For example, most of the time, if you've ever noticed, most of my matches, I don't get hit very often. If I get hit, it's once, maybe twice, and it's toward my end of my matches. If that makes sense. Like, I don't because I don't feel like a grown man should be able to punch me and either I'm knocked out or laid out for a while. You know what I mean? Like if any of that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it, and there's a way to make sense out of it. I don't, like I said, I don't think I can go toe to toe with anybody, with any man, but I feel like I can make sense out of what I do, because I feel like, like people ask me all the time, like, you wrestle guys? Like people that don't know about wrestling, like you wrestle like dudes? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, how often? Like, you just wrestle them every once in a while, right? And like, I've come to realize it's about 50-50 anymore. Like, it's about 50-50. I wrestle guys and I wrestle, women. It's half and half. And I love it, because I've gotten the opportunities to wrestle certain names that I would have never, ever, ever been able to wrestle before had I not wrestled the guys that I have, and make sense out of it. And like, even some of my peers that are men haven't gotten a chance to wrestle, Elgin and Whitmer and Kingston and all this stuff. Like, my friends that are guys that are wrestlers haven't gotten a chance to do this. So it's a good feeling. Yeah, exactly. No, somebody said that to me the other day. I was talking to him and he was like, so what do you got tomorrow? And it was the day before my Battle of the Sexes match with BJ. I was like, oh, I wrestle BJ Whitmer in AAW. And he looks at me and goes, damn it, I'm so jealous of your life. I was like, sorry.
Wow. Hey, speaking of AEW, you work heel there.
Traditionally, yeah.
Traditionally, as part of the social network, amongst other things. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you, again, talking about the varied stuff that you do. I mean, you work babyface most places, and you know, obviously you're really good at that, but you seem to really enjoy doing the heel stuff as well. I mean, compare and contrast working the two styles if you can.
The thing I love about AEW is they kind of just give me free reign. You just kind of do this, and we'll enjoy whatever you do. You know what I mean? Like, they just kind of give me free reign to do whatever I want and say whatever I want and whatever. So that's one of the things I love about AEW, and most of these big name like matches with men I've been there at AEW. You know what I mean? So I'm very grateful to them. I love that company. It's such a good company. It's such a good product. And I love it. Working heel there, it's funny because the last like 5 or 6 matches, excluding my match with Athena, have been with men. So it's very difficult to kind of get that heel reaction when you are getting the crap kicked out of you by a grown-ass man. It's hard. And especially like, so I'm to a point right now where I'm a tweener. I still act the same that I always have. And I still have Sammy. Sammy is an absolute nutcase. I love her, but she is out of her damn mind. So it's one of those things, like, I love working with Annie. Annie's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And just being able to have this freedom to say and do these god-awful, disgusting things. Like, I make the jerking off motion more times than I could probably count at this place, and it's okay. And I think one of those things is it's like, I've compared it to like when I work the Gathering. Like, I'm a heel at the Gathering as well, and I compare it to like my therapy. Like, I can get it all out. Like, I have to be this bubbly baby face, even when I don't even really like the fan. Like, I have to be sweet and bubbly and cute and blah, 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 and whatever, like tough, ragdoll. But these are the points in time where I can just get it all out and say terrible things and do terrible things. And then go back to being Heidi. So I need these places. I need places like AIW and the Gathering and things like that to be able to be Heidi Lovelace as, this bubbly baby face.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it, and I can totally see that, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that kind of, to a certain extent, brings me on to something else that we're going to talk about, and we're already coming up to an hour in this, so we're already going quite long here, but we're cool with that. And that is IWA Mid-South, and the fact that you guys were, well, you were part of the Queen of the Death matches this year.
I was.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, we need to talk. Why?
That is pretty much all we've got.
Why?
Yeah. Well, look. Okay. No, you talk first. Then we'll come in.
Okay. I can actually do it the easiest with you guys. I can explain why the easiest way with you guys.
Go.
Here's why. Because I read your a good half. Was it? It was you guys. No.
Yes.
Was it you guys who wrote the good half a year for Heidi Lovelace?
Yes. Yeah. 2 years in a row.
Is that you guys? Yeah. The ending that you wrote. Because Heidi Lovelace, whether it's tag team, whether it's death matches, whether it's singles, whatever it is, she can do it. That's why I did it.
Oh God, you're putting this on us now.
Oh, no, you're putting it on us. You're putting it on you, Stu. It's your fault.
All right, oh God.
No, but you guys summed it up to what I was trying to portray. The reason that I did the death matches, and I got so much shit for this. I got so much shit from everyone I talked to. People I looked up to, people, my parents, people, my fans, and anybody I can think of gave me shit for being in Queen of the Death. But I wanted to show that I could do it. And it was one of those things where I wanted to show that I could do it. Not only just do it, but do it well. Because to me, death matches is similar to, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this. Death matches is something that is similar to a different style. So there's, Japanese, there's lucha libre, there's, English, there, you know what I mean? And death matches is another one of those things. And to me, people like Drake Younger showed that it can be done and tell a story. You know what I mean? And I watched a lot of, his stuff and Scotty Vortex and everything like that. I watched a lot of these guys that were very, very good at these types of things and telling stories in it. And that was what I was trying to do, was tell a story with everything that I was doing. And yes, it sucked. I still have I have one scar on my back that's above my right shoulder blade. That is from, I believe, one of the Christmas ornaments from when my back was all bloodied and terrible, that I took with me. So I've got the deathmatch scar. You will not be seeing Heidi Lovelace in another death match. I have made that perfectly clear to everyone that I've talked to.
That's quite a relief.
Well, look, Lee and I were talking about this beforehand, and I said, well, we got to ask about Queen of the Death matches, and what I hoped and thought it probably was it was just a bucket list thing. It was just something that you felt you wanted to do just one time. So, I mean, that's essentially what it was then, yeah?
Yeah. They've asked me to do double death. And I've had offers to do other different kinds of death matches since then, just because I did it. And it's one of those things where, I politely decline, this is not for me. I do have a whole new respect for anybody who does death matches. You know what I mean? For a while, that was what Mickey was known for. And I don't know how you did this for as many years as you did. She doesn't do them as much anymore. But I told her, I was like, I don't know how the hell you did it. How you did it as much as you did, because she had just gotten hurt right before Queen of the Death. And I called her afterwards. She's like, you okay? You okay? And I was like, I'm good, girl. I'm good. I don't know how you did it, man. I've got a whole new respect for them, because it's amazing what you put your body through. And like I said, it was something to show that I am, a varied performer. I can do just about anything. And
I believe it now. I absolutely believe it. Can I tell you? I've seen the show, and I'm not a fan of deathmatch wrestling particularly, but I was curious, and my curiosity got the better of me. And and I will say that I thought that watching you in the matches, I could see that you were trying to be not just overtly stupid with anything. You were trying to be careful.
Oh yeah. It got to a point that it was out of control, that I did, like, it was too careful for a death match. Like, there were points in time where I lifted stuff up and really, really hoped somebody would hit me to make me drop it, because I didn't want to with it. Like, it was that bad, to a point where, like, I don't want to hit you, I'm sorry, to where I just kept hitting people in the butt with things.
Well, that's it. You were hitting people, I guess, in the butt or the back, but you weren't hitting people over the head with dangerous objects.
I didn't want to.
You came out with a mouthpiece as well, which I noticed, and I thought, smart girl. But then within about 5 minutes, you lost it.
Oh yeah, no, it was gone. It actually melted. It was so hot out there that it melted, and I found it again, and they gave it to me, and it was just like gooey and stuff. I was like, oh, this is awful.
No, I wouldn't pick up anything off the floor of that green and put it back in my mouth.
Oh no!
Jesus Christ, that place looked like third world. I'm sorry.
It was in the backyard of a strip club, so. It's one of those things.
Hang on, what strip clubs have got backyards? It's like a beer garden or something?
That was one of the things that I didn't understand either. Like, it's a big strip club, whatever. They're always really good to us. Like, they're always really sweet. The owner of it's real cool, whatever. And, like, they have this really, like, this back area of the strip club, and then, like, there's a volleyball court near it, and, like, an outside bar, and, like,
this
stuff.
Is a classy gentleman's establishment.
Can you have open air?
You want to get some, a lap dance and have a barbecue, you can.
Jesus, well, that sounds like an experience, to be fair. But I guess you can have open air lap dances then. That's what the world needs more of, obviously. Jesus. So no, I thought, especially in your match with Hudson Envy, I thought you were, you was like reasonably careful. Then with Ludark Shaitan, it was a fans bring the weapons match, and I mean, I don't know.
I was actually unaware of the fact that I was going into the second match, into the second round.
Oh God!
I didn't know until I got, and I
bet that's one of those times when you wish you did know.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I was like, yeah, I wish I was a little better prepared for this. Ludark actually does not speak a lot of English. So it was a little difficult. So when I talked to her before the match, I said, I pick up something you don't like, hit me, I drop. I said, you pick up something I don't like, I hit you, you drop. And she said, okay. Little did I know that this girl is fucking, like, in the best way possible. She's nuts, and she will take anything. So anything I picked up, I'm waiting for her to hit me, and she didn't. So I'm just hitting her. And then at one point in time, she just looks at me and goes, hit me. I'm like, okay. Like, with the thing of light tubes, like, I didn't want to. But I have the best story in the world about this. This is my best Queen of the Death story. So she hits me with that baton looking thing, like that gladiator baton that's covered in toothpicks. Mm-hmm. And she hits me across the ass with it. Yes. Okay. That sucked. And she snapped me down. And I sit on those toothpicks, and they all go in. Oh. And I'm like, oh, wrestled. So she wraps this keyboard thing around my neck. And as she's doing that, I'm picking the toothpicks out of my ass. So the match is over. I'm walking around outside, and I'm covered in glass and whatever. And I feel this really sharp pain in the middle of my butt. And I'm like, what is that? And I pull it down, and there is a small, like, little end of a toothpick sticking out of my ass. And I'm like, fuck, this hurts. And I'm trying to pull it out. I can't get it out. It takes 3 people, mind you, to get this out of my ass. 3 people. And I pull it out, and it's probably a good inch long.
Oh, God.
Like, it was super long. Here's the best part. I sold it to a fan for $20.
Yes.
Worker. I like it.
Sold it to a fan for $20.
Who
and
wants
he bought
this?
it.
It came out of my ass.
Yeah.
This fan could clone you, by the way.
Right. If you see another Heidi Lovelace, I'm telling you, it may not be me.
Jesus. See, that's the thing, actually. I mean, I'm not being funny about it, but you don't know where those toothpicks have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that one does.
Well, yeah, but you don't know where they've been before they ended up in your ass, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I literally doused myself with Bactine and peroxide and like literally just covered my whole body in just any antiseptic I could after that whole thing was over.
Yes, again, smart girl. I like it. I'm slightly traumatized by the fact that you've done this just to prove a point to me, but but nevertheless,
idiot Stu.
I just like to apologise. I didn't mean that at all. Let's move on to happier climes, shall we?
Okay.
Let's move on to Shine.
Okay.
Because you're going to be at Shine this weekend, this Friday, in fact, a couple of days' time from when we're recording this, and you are going to be part of one of my favourite tag teams. You and Solo Darling as the Buddy System.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Buddy System from your point of view. I mean, I've done an interview with Solo as well, but I love the tag team. I just want to get your take on it because you guys have got such a sort of funny chemistry between the two of you. I
love it because at first it was a little bit of a challenge because I didn't know Solo on a personal level, but Solo is Solo. She is a happy. She loves sugar. She's always hyper and bubbly and loves to hug people. Wears fuzzy ears and like she's adorable. She's the cutest thing. But obviously, from what you've seen, that's not who I am. I'm not. I'm very happy. Like I'm a fiery baby face, but I wouldn't say bubbly and quirky is really the word for it. So like putting us together as a tag team at first was we weren't really sure exactly the direction that we wanted to go. And then, it kind of clicked when like we were even, I think we were just talking one day. And like the way we were interacting with each other, she was trying to get me to like, I don't remember. It was like trying to get me to eat a cupcake or something. Like, I don't even remember. And I'm just like, no, Solo, no, I don't want the damn cupcake. Get it out of my face. And it was that instant where we're like, okay, this is how we can do this. You know what I mean? Like we have the demographic of like the Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black thing from Wrestling Society X, where, Jimmy's very like happy-go-lucky and poppy and whatever, and then Tyler Black's the more serious one, and they complement each other in that aspect, and that's what we do. So I'm constantly the one that's like, all right, Solo, focus. This is important. This is for the belts. Okay. And then whenever like we're in the middle of a match and she does something cute or funny, like she gets me to laugh and gets me to enjoy wrestling, which is kind of the demographic that we are basically going for. And I love it. Like I like working with her. She's such a sweet girl. She's very talented. I love working with Daphne and being a part of the All-Star squad. She is by far one of my favorite people on the planet. So it was definitely one of those things where I just enjoy being a part of it and being able to grow as a performer, because tag team wrestling was never my niche. I didn't do a lot of tag team wrestling before this. And then, when, Shine talked to me and told me that, this is the tag team you're going to be a part of. I was like, okay, this is another thing. It was another challenge for me to just try and, okay, this is, and try and master the art of tag team wrestling. So that's what, we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, you two together as a team, it just makes me smile. But I mean, the best description of the two of you as a team was the video that Solo did. I think it was before the last Shine show, where she was like searching for you, and she was asking someone, "Have you seen Heidi Lovelace?" And she said, like, she holds my hand and makes sure I don't get lost.
Yeah.
And that line is always stuck in my head. Is like that's the dynamic between you two. Like, you're the sensible one. She's the one that if you're not there, she's going to just gamble off into the fields and you'll never see her again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that. I forgot about that line. I like that. Maybe we'll get that on a t-shirt.
I'm getting this image now in my head that this is actually going to be quite disparaging towards Solo, so I apologise in advance. But it's like the original Hart Foundation, where you're Bret Hart and I'm comparing Solo Darling now to Jim Neidhart. But it's kind of it's kind of like that. Is that she's kind of the one who's a little bit wacky and out there, and you're the one just saying, look, just focus on this, just one thing.
For this one thing right now, and then I'll give you a cupcake if you get this right.
Oh God, I just compared Solo Darling to Jim Neidhart.
You compared Daphne
I'll
to
make
Jimmy
sure
Hart
she
as
knows.
well.
Technically, I did, yes.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. So this week on Shine, sounds like a trailer. But this week on Shine, you and she will be taking on the team of Marty Bell and Jamie Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a tag team division starting to build up down there. Obviously, they've got their tag team championships that they instituted earlier on this year. But it's quite a burgeoning little tag team division down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's blossoming a lot quicker than I anticipated. We've got, myself and Solo, as well as, the Kimber Bombs. I don't know 100% how much longer the SNS Express. I don't know what's happening with them because of just
retiring, yeah.
Recent retirement, yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what's going with that. Obviously, the tag team champions Malaya Hosaka and Brandywine, and then the Lucha Sisters. So it's a lot bigger of a tag team variant than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to be struggling for tag teams, but now they're just popping up out of the woodwork, So, but no, I'm excited. I've never worked with Jamie Jameson before, so it's going to be fun to work with somebody new. I've worked with Marty Bell a couple different times. I worked with her at the Queens of Combat show over in North Carolina, and she cracks me up. I love that girl so much. Her big hair, her hair is her personality is as big as her hair.
And she's got some big hair, yeah.
Yeah, she's got some big hair. And I love her to pieces. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what kind of, the BTY, I believe is their tag team name, Better Than You. So I look forward to seeing what we can turn out.
Fair enough. And at some point in Shine, you and Solo are going to have to fight the Kimber Bombs, and my life will be complete.
Okay. Yeah. No, as soon as that happens, I will tweet you guys and be like, hey.
That will be the show.
Yes.
That will be the show. That will be the best show in Shine history when that match happens.
Stu will stop watching wrestling after this match happens.
It may not get any better than that match.
So,
not to put any undue pressure on you there, Heidi, but
Oh, not at all. No pressure. No
that's
pressure.
Going to be the match of the year. I'm just telling you now. At some point, it's going to happen.
Oh, I'm excited about that. That would definitely.
You're excited.
That would definitely.
I'm excited. I'm like Solo Darling excited about that match.
What does that rate on the Heidi happy scale?
Calm down.
That's a pure 1.0 Heidi. That's what that is.
Uh-oh. Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, business is going to pick up that night. Oof. Anyway, I don't think I can top that as far as another set of questions. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to do our new favourite thing on the show, and that is Wacky Roadtrip Stories. Woohoo! So, we should have a little jingle that we play when this happens.
I'll get working on it.
Get working on that one for next time. But our Wacky Road Trip story for this show, of course, from Heidi. You've had a chance to think about one. You said you've got one, so I don't know what this is about, but the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I was thinking a lot about it, and I could have told you guys the story on where we were on the road, and somebody had a chair in the backseat of the car, and we got into a car accident, and the chair hit me in the back of the head. But that's basically the extent of the story. There's not really anything more than that.
No.
So I'm going to tell you guys the story. It's not really on the road. It was while we were at, this is my favorite story to tell. So it was while we were at IWA Mid-South, actually. So it's an IWA story while we were on the road and at IWA. So that's the best I got, because all my other road trip stories, I'm usually by myself. So boring. So basically, we were at IWA Mid-South. It was when we were at the old building, the Colgate building. And we had a benefit show following, or right before the actual show of the IWA roster. So the benefit show was kind of open to anybody. Obviously, nobody's getting paid for it because it was for Mr. Hatler, who has passed away, but it was for his family. So it was anybody, any random wrestler could have come on and off the street and been in a part of a battle royal that was on the show. So this one particular guy came in, and he came in wearing his gear. He was already wearing it when he walked in the door. So we already knew, this guy's a good guy, whatever. So he does the battle royal and the charity show, and then sits in the crowd for the following show. And that night, Isaiah and Shane Mercer tore the house down in a cage. So they had an awesome match, whatever. And then, some of the heels came in and jumped Isaiah. And then the baby faces came in to make the save. Well, this guy, I don't even know his name. This guy came out from the crowd, got into the cage, stood up on the top rope and started crotch chopping.
What?
For no apparent reason. And nobody knew who this guy was or why he was doing this. So they brought him to the back, and they're screaming and yelling at him. And so first, John Calvin starts screaming at this kid, who the hell do you think you are? Blah, 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 blah. Cursing, just yelling, screaming, and cutting a promo on this kid. And we're all just standing in the locker room, just real uncomfortable. This is weird. I don't know how to feel about this. We want to leave, but we don't know where to go. And then Corporal Robinson comes in and starts getting feet away from this kid's face, feet away, and is right there and screaming at him. And we're all afraid he's going to punch this kid. Because, it's Corp. So he goes to, he's like, the only reason I'm not hitting you right now is because the fucking boss said I couldn't, and whatever. And so he's screaming and whatever, and then he's done. And then Isaiah starts yelling at this guy. And Isaiah's usually just a real chill dude. He just talks, real monotone. And so when he yells, usually people listen. So he's screaming, everybody's yelling, and he's screaming at this kid it's guys like you make me hate the wrestling business and blah 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 blah. So all these people are yelling at him, and we're all just sitting there. And this is the scare, it was the scariest thing in the world because it only a few people heard it. And with the most nonchalant, just relaxed tone of voice, Todd Morton goes, I don't know why y'all didn't just kill the motherfucker. And we all just sit there and go, oh my God, Todd Morton's a serial killer. Oh my God. And we all just lose our minds. Just so relaxed. I don't know why y'all didn't just kill the motherfucker. What? Why is that a logical explanation? So that is one of my favorite stories to tell. And that is my road trip story.
That's pretty cool. It didn't have any dead hookers, but it almost had a dead mark. So.
Yes, exactly.
Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen.
Lord. Right. Well, look, let's wrap this up by, first of all, asking what's next for Heidi? I mean, obviously you got Shine this weekend. What's next for you? I mean, I imagine you've got a list of bookings as long as your arm.
Oh yeah. Is
there anything particular you want to draw to people's attention? First of all.
Well, by the time this comes out, hopefully within the next few days, I actually this coming weekend, I will be leaving Florida and flying back home on Saturday. It's not a very large, well-known promotion, but it's a place in Lafayette, Indiana. I will be wrestling my trainer. So for the first time, I will be wrestling Billy Rock. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It will be the first time that anybody's seen anything like it. And Billy does not wrestle. He wrestles once a year, maybe once, twice a year. So he's been plugging it all over his social media. I'm about to start, and I'm very excited about it. So, I'm hoping, and it's for a good cause. It's for an autism benefit show. So anybody who's in the area, please do come out and watch. So I'm excited to see that and to be a part of that. And then anything else in particular? I also am booked for the first time in Las Vegas, Nevada. Here coming up in September. So that's very exciting. Other than that, I'm just, I'm trying to do my best to get out of the country. That's goal is, so I've done what I could to, conquer, the States. So I'm looking forward to trying to, get out of this country and, head to, Japan or England or whatever. So I'm excited about that.
You're not looking to leave the country just because you killed a motherfucker?
Yeah, that too. Right. That too, because I got, warrants and stuff out. So, yeah, that too.
Using the death matches story. If I write a story saying about how Heidi Lovelace should wrestle British wrestling style, are you just going to come to Britain just to prove me right?
Yes,
excellent.
Absolutely. I will, just to prove you right.
You can find this on the website very soon.
Yeah, really. It works for me. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, that was it. I suppose the other question to ask just before we let you go is, I mean, this is all sort of like, in the next few months, and obviously getting out of the country is probably sort of mid-term goal, but I mean, where do you see yourself in the next few years? I mean, do you want to end up in one of the big promotions? Is that the plan? Would you like to have a contract to wrestle?
Within the next few years, I'd like to have a contract, but not necessarily like the E and TNA. Obviously, if it were to happen, then obviously I'm not going to say no to it. But my main goals right now are to, I want to, stay in a dojo for 3 months and train and wrestle, with Japan, or, you know what I mean? Like I would like to have some kind of contract when it comes to that, which is hard because I'm not sure of many women's promotions that do the contract thing. Obviously, Big Japan and Noah and all them and Dragon Gate obviously have all that stuff, but I'm just kind of hoping to be able to, come back from like a 3-month tour, or what have you, like just be able to go places and train and learn and grow as a performer before I even attempt to go to the E or to TNA or whatever. Because if I ever do go there, I want to go there with the utmost confidence that I know everything I could possibly know. Like, obviously you never stop learning as a wrestler, but just to go there and be confident in myself and that I've been everywhere I need to be before I go to this final step.
Cool. And where can people keep up with what you're up to on social media? Facebook and Twitter, I guess?
I have a Facebook, which is Heidi Lovelace, obviously. Lovelace is how my last name is spelled, contrary to popular belief. Twitter is at Vintage Heidi, which I got to get that changed at some point in time, but as of now it is at Vintage Heidi. And then I also have an Instagram if you want to keep up on the many, many pictures of my cats. That is at Heidi Lovelace.
Can't get too many cats on Instagram, come on.
But no, I have other cool pictures of me kicking people in the face, so that's cool too. But yeah. But yeah, those are. I was thinking,
by the way, about your Twitter account. Vintage Heidi. Obviously, it's a callback to the fact that when you started a few years ago, you were the Vintage Vixen for a while. Yes. But the thing is, I don't know. I was thinking about it for some reason, and I just thought, it sounds like a Michael Cole call. That's Vintage Heidi. So I think you can keep it. If you want, you can keep it. It works for that. So. Yeah,
I feel like it works. I feel like I can use it and pretend that it was something else, that it wasn't the terrible Vintage Vixen thing. I think it's funny though, because I just did a show for it's like the old school wrestling, like the Speakeasy Spectacular type thing. Like it's like basically 1920s wrapped up in a wrestling show, and it is the coolest thing in the whole world. And I was Heidi the Riveter. And
nice.
Yeah, that was a real thing. That was a real thing that happened, and it was so much fun. But I was really hoping that I could wear my $500 gear that I spent that has the words Vintage Vixen and Miss Heidi written all over it. But he was like, "No, we don't want any midriff showing because it's like a 1920s show, whatever." And I ended up wrestling, obviously, Thunder Kitty, who like she lives in that. Like she didn't have to change anything that she did. But yeah, no, it's. Nope, I just got to sell that. So yeah, anybody who's listening, who's interested in buying that gear, please hit me up on some of that, because I've had it for so long and I've worn it like 3 times.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, look, thank you very much for spending almost an hour and a half with us. So it's been an absolute pleasure. And that's only the last sort of year and a bit of your career. So we're going to have to do this again in another year or so when you've done another million awesome things.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to start getting ridiculous.
It's like we'll have to release the Heidi valve every so often or it just builds up too much.
Sounds good.
Right,
Sounds
cool.
good.
All right, well, keep in touch.
Talking about Solo Darling and Heidi Lovelace versus the Kimber Bombs as the next time. Hopefully we'll be able to